Twilight's Nightmare, Chapter 20, Party. Twilight's body ached all over in such a delicious way. Each breath was filled with her lover's scent, and Dreams' wonderful soft wings enclosed her as strong hooves held her. Most of last night was a blur, but the little that she could remember was very pleasant indeed. The low rumble of Nova's purr in her chest let her know that she definitely agreed. She let out a contented sigh as she snuggled back against Dreams' chest.
Twilight.
Dreams' perfect voice whispered in her ear.
Mm-hmm.
Twilight answered as best as she could.
My love, we have company. That's nice.
Twilight managed to murmur.
It's time to get up. But I'm too comfy.
She answered, wrapping her forelegs around Dreams, ensuring her big spoon couldn't escape. A single feather trailed warningly closer to one of Twilight's ticklish spots.
This is your last warning, my love.
Twilight's horn lit, a magenta aura pinned the feather in place. Having safely defeated the threat, she let the warmth around her start to lull her back to sleep. The world exploded in silver light, and horrible, terrible, annoying cold. Twilight's eyes shot open as she flailed around in the bath of cold water that she had just been teleported into.
I warned you.
Dreams teased. Twilight fixed her with a glare, ignoring her shivering body as she lit her horn. Then, multiple globs of cold water rose around her. After the first Alicorn tier water fight in recorded history, the two sisters clearly made sure that no record survived of theirs. Twilight and Dreams bathed properly, restoring the damage caused to their coats and manes by their long night together. The pair of them galloped along the wooden corridor towards the central section of Twilight's library. Twilight was currently trying to catch the longer-legged Dreams.
Who is it?
Twilight demanded.
Not telling.
Dream shot back.
Tell me!
Twilight called out, not being able to hide the playfulness in her voice.
Never!
Dreams replied, playing along. She dodged Twilight's tackle, putting on a burst of speed, and she emerged into the central section and dived over the 5th floor railing. Twilight followed without a second thought, scanning and trying to seek her target, but she found something else. Down below on the ground floor, a familiar pink alicorn caught her eyes.
Cadence!
Twilight yelled, falling 3 levels before she remembered that she could just use her wings. Cadence looked up just in time to receive a high-impact hug. Reacting fast, she wrapped her hooves around Twilight and spun her around, her shedding momentum, as she rotated on her back hooves.
Twilight!
Cadence's voice was full of relief.
You're alright. Wait, so how are you here?
Twilight asked, a huge grin plastered across her face.
That would be my doing.
Night answered from a cushion off to the side. Twilight looked over to her, taking in the new Thestral-like appearance.
I am so going to Nightmare Night like that this year,
she thought.
The ruler of the Crystal Empire requested an audience with you. I facilitated it.
Night said formally. Dreams landed next to Twilight, and Cadence gave them an interested look. Twilight lifted Dreams in her aura and pulled her closer.
Cadence, I'd like to introduce you to Sweet James, my friend.
Twilight said the last word so quiet, it was only audible to alicorns.
It's nice to meet you face to face, Princess.
Dreams said, bowing. Cadence nodded, allowing Dreams to rise.
I can see that there's real love here.
Cadence smiled.
Although, I fear it is a little too late to ask what your intentions are towards my sister-in-law,
she said with a knowing look. Twilight's cheeks almost glowed with how red they were.
Cadence!
Twilight objected.
Did you at least find my book useful?
Twilight huddled under her wings, but it did nothing to block out Cadence's pleased laugh.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's perfectly natural and I'm pleased for you,
Cadence said, as Twilight revealed herself from under her wings.
Sweet Dreams, I must ask, who and what are you?
Dreams looked to Night, the two sharing some type of nonverbal communication. Night then nodded.
I was a fragment of Night here.
She nodded towards her creator.
Twilight took me in and accepted me, granting me freedom and allowing me to choose a name.
Cadence's eyes widened slightly, and Twilight didn't really know why.
Why is choosing a name such a big deal?
She thought.
I am hers, and she is mine. Nothing you can say or do will change that. I will do everything in my power to keep her happy and to keep her safe.
Dreams stated. Twilight left her current hug and embraced Dreams.
I love you too, my dream,
Twilight said, her tone causing an excited shiver to dance along Dreams' wings. A series of knocks came from below, and Cadence looked puzzled.
I am not telling her that.
Twilight said to the floor. Cadence raised her gaze to Twilight.
So you have more company here? Oh, where are my manners? Yes, I'll introduce you to them.
Twilight pointed at a golden reinforced basement door.
Locked behind that seal is Nova. She's one of the surviving daughters of the original Twilight. It's nice to meet you, Nova.
Cadence said. There were another series of knocks.
No, I am still not telling her anything like that.
Twilight said, rebuffing Nova's lewd comments. Twilight then flew over to the golden chains making up Gray's seal, and Dreams moved up beside Cadence.
Nova's passionate and a little more than just single-minded. She is a fragment of the original Twilight trapped down there by Celestia since my Twilight's creation.
Twilight, not eager to wait, just teleported Cadence over to her.
And here's Gray. Gray, meet Cadence. Cadence, meet Gray.
Twilight said.
She can't speak thanks to what happens, but she can write.
Gray, with her expressionless face, looked to Cadence and nodded. Gray's ash-white aura lifted a scroll and passed it through the wooded tunnel. Twilight lifted it in her aura and passed it to Cadence, unable not to read the open scroll as it went past.
One time I have welcomed you here.
Cadence bowed her head to Gray.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Gray. And you already know Knight somehow, and I introduced every pony else, so that's all of us in this little happy family here.
Twilight giggled. She could feel darker thoughts wanting to take her.
No, Cadence is here. I will be happy.
Dreams wrapped Twilight in a hug and softly started humming that calming lullaby. Twilight relaxed, pressing her face into Dreams' chest, doing her best to hide her tears from Cadence. Cadence's hoof on her shoulder added to the comfort.
Knight, would you mind preparing some tea?
Dreams asked.
I remember how to before you say anything.
Knight said, trotting off.
The kitchen's over that way.
Dreams helpfully added, trying to stifle a giggle. Dreams then returned to her humming. To Twilight, the world felt safe. It felt right. She let the words of the lullaby play through her mind, acting as a soothing balm to her pain. Cadence joined in her only voice, enhancing the performance. Twilight lifted her head enough to see Cadence's eyes closed now, singing along. Tears now traced down her face as a rapturous smile graced her muzzle. The clink of teacups being set down broke the spell, the moment shattered. Cadence opened her eyes, looking around like a lost and fearful foal.
What was that song?
She asked, getting her voice and apparently her emotions back under control.
Tea is served,
Knight said, gesturing to cushions set around a low table. The gathered ponies settled down with their tea, and Twilight floated a cup over to Gray, who nodded before getting back to her endless scribing.
Doesn't matter. It's old, and one of the most beautiful songs I know.
Dreams answered Cadence.
It just seems... I almost feel like I can remember it.
Twilight looked to her once full sitter with interest.
You know what? I feel like I should. Shall we get to why you're here, my student?
Knight said.
Wait, student?
Twilight exclaimed.
Well, yes. It appears Auntie left some important information out about being an alicorn.
Cadence admitted.
You mean she left you defenseless and set you up as a spare body in case of her sister's one was destroyed in an attempt to save her?
Knight almost growled.
I'm sorry, she what?
Only a quick shield spell from Cadence saved every pony's drinks.
You don't know that.
Dream said, pulling Twilight back down and wrapping a wing around her.
Why else would she possibly not teach her niece about her bastion? What other possible reason makes sense?
Knight said.
Ladies!
Cadence interrupted.
We will sit and have our tea like civilized ponies. Now, there are many things I need to talk about with my aunties, but that is for another time.
She looked at Twilight, who by now only had a few sparks of fire dancing in her mane.
Twilight, what happened to you after Manhattan?
Twilight paled.
It's not pretty. Are you sure you want to know?
Cadence nodded.
I have to know. Both as a princess and as your sister. Dreams, do you know where that scroll went?
Twilight asked. Dreams looked up at Gray, who had already floated a familiar-looking medical report over. Twilight took it and offered it to Cadence.
The whole attack was a trap. I don't know if it was just for me or for any alicorn that responded.
Twilight said. Cadence's expression became horrified as she looked over the report. Twilight then continued.
To them, I was to be only ritual components and, finally, a sacrifice. So, how did you even survive?
Cadence asked.
I simply had help.
Twilight looked warmly at Knight and then lovingly at Dreams.
My little star even protected us and teleported us home.
Knight added. Cadence looked at the three of them before asking,
So, do you know who's responsible? Our opponent is a male unicorn warlock of formidable power, and they were a race of mental domination and harmful redirection magic.
Twilight could see Cadence haunted by her memories.
Cadence?
Twilight softly asked, resting a wing over her. Cadence's eyes snapped at Twilight, a smile sliding into place.
Seems like she's still bothered by the wedding.
Twilight thought.
Harm redirection? Is that like a reflective shield?
Cadence asked. Night shook her head.
No. It is far more effective and ruthless. Any harm you inflict upon him is passed on to one of his thralls. So, to stop him?
Cadence asked.
You may need to kill many enslaved victims.
Night stated coldly. Cadence blanched at that and desperately asked,
Can we at least free them? With his level of skill, unlikely. Any attempts would kill them as surely as just attacking the warlock himself.
Night said, unbothered about what might be necessary.
So, what if we send him to another world? One where he would have no magic?
Twilight asked.
You mean the mirror?
Dream said. Twilight nodded.
Well, that could work.
Night smiled, showing her fangs.
We would just need to check one of his thralls to see if the enchantment on them would have any effect if they lost contact with him. So, you have a plan to deal with him?
Cadence asked.
The start of one.
Twilight said.
We would need to set an anchor rune with a movement redirector right in front of the mirror.
A grin crept on her muzzle.
Then one teleport trap, and he is ours.
Night purred, licking her fangs.
Turnabout's fair play.
Dream smiled.
We would have to warn Sunset, though.
Twilight said.
And have somebody there ready to deal with him.
Night added darkly. Twilight smiled, nodding, then calmly took a sip of her tea.
Do you know about the flames burning around the Temple of the Hidden Path?
Cadence asked, giving Twilight a strange look. Twilight shook her head and looked around her strange family.
Soulfire.
Night stated coldly. A tapping sound came from the direction of Gray. Her white aura was tapping a scroll against the inside of the wooden tunnel. Cadence then took the offered scroll in her blue aura and opened it. Her eyes widened in horror as she read it.
10.3 seconds of Wellspring meltdown before the burning section was removed and used to power a long-range teleport.
Twilight shivered, clinging to dreams.
I thought the flames were just a nightmare. No, they were quite real.
Night said with a grimace.
And painful. Do you know anything more than that?
Cadence asked softly. Night shook her head.
Little Star was the only witness, and even talking about it is too painful for her.
She looked at Cadence in challenge. Cadence then held up her hooves.
I'm not going to question Philly about something that traumatic. When Starlight gets back from her trip with Trixie, we can get her to help on a past viewing spell.
Twilight said.
There is Sikora's potion.
Night mentioned.
No, thank you. That would just be a bit too intense.
Twilight said in no uncertain terms.
So, now that all that unpleasantness is out of the way, are you ready to attend your daughter's party?
Cadence asked, smiling. Twilight glanced at Night, who nodded. Looking back to Cadence, she spoke.
I would love to.
I'm wondering when they're gonna execute this plan of theirs, because it's gotta be soon or else something else is gonna pop up that's not gonna be in their favor. Anywho, let's get on to our favorable donators. Top donators, Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, and Ponyman. Courier Crucii, Delta Omega, Strix, Runescythe 9852, Dospo, Rhiny Dragonwolf, Secret Moon, Tall Russia, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brethren Mordred, Cerberus, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, TLK Anderson, John Becker, and Leon Reynolds. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.